You guys wanted to really dig into this year's Nobel Peace Prize, huh? And I gotta say, it's a big one. Like, really big.
Huge.
Yeah. We're talking about Japan's Nihon Hidankyo, and you might be thinking, who?
Right.
But stick with us, because this is so much bigger than just one organization.
It really is. This is about the hibakusha.
The survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Exactly. Imagine just for a second carrying that with you. The scars, the memories, just the struggle to keep going and building a movement from that darkness.
It's like staring into the abyss and saying, nope, not only am I not going to look away, I'm going to dedicate my life to making sure no one else has to see this.
Yeah. And that's what they did. 1956, Nihon Hidankyo was born. They provided, vital support for survivors, medical care, resources, just a community.
People who get it.
Exactly, who understand in a way that most of us can't even fathom.
So they're on the ground, directly helping people still dealing with the effects all these years later.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But they also knew this wasn't just about picking up the pieces at home. They had this moral imperative, right, to prevent this from ever happening again anywhere.
And they've been doing this for decades. Like long before, I don't know, I was even a thought. They were fighting for a world without nuclear weapons.
It's honestly incredible. They've been on the front lines of this movement, international disarmament talks, raising global awareness about just how horrific nuclear war really is. They were even instrumental in the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons.
Wow. So they were directly involved in shaping international policy.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
Right.
How did they manage that?
Well, this treaty, which actually won ICAN the Nobel Prize back in 2017, it basically says no to everything. Developing, testing, producing, stockpiling, transferring, using, even threatening to use nuclear weapons.
Wow.
Nihon Hidankyo knew how important this was, and they pushed for it hard. They brought the reality of nuclear war to the negotiating table, not just the politics, but the human cost.
It makes their message today, like, even more urgent. With everything going on, North Korea, Iran, even the war in Ukraine, it feels like these threats are, well...
real.
Yeah, like scarily real.
And that's, I think, what makes this Nobel Peace Prize so important. The world is acknowledging right now that what they're saying matters, maybe now more than ever.
It's a message that just goes way beyond the politics of it all,
Yeah.
Beyond treaties and all that.
It really does. It's about what it means to be human, right?
Yeah.
I think what gets me about Nihon Hidankyo, it's that they never let us forget the human cost. These aren't statistics we're talking about. These are real people, parents, children, friends.
People live through something unimaginable. And they show us that the impact of these weapons, it doesn't just disappear after that flash.
No.
It's the long-term effects on civilians, on the environment, generations. It's
intergenerational trauma.
Yeah.
And that's something I think a lot of people listening can relate to in some way, right? Even if it's not on that scale, that suffering, that pain, it echoes.
It makes you think about the legacy we're leaving. I mean, we talk about climate change and all that, but nuclear war, it's like this huge, scary thing that's just easier to ignore.
Because it is scary.
Right.
It's terrifying. And that's exactly why what the hibakusha are doing is so important. They're keeping this issue alive for all of us.
Yeah.
Saying, look, we can't look away.
And their legacy is passing that on, right?
It is.
That awareness. And tragically, their numbers are dwindling.
Yeah. Every year we lose more of these voices, these irreplaceable voices of experience.
And that's why the work Nihon Hidankyo is doing, preserving those testimonies, it's
so vital. Absolutely. These stories, they have to be heard. They have to be understood. They're making sure future generations, they know.
Because there's something about hearing a firsthand account.
Right.
It's like you can read about it in a textbook.
It's not the same.
No. It's hearing the words, the emotion. It just hits you differently.
I agree. Imagine, actually sitting across from someone who was there in Hiroshima, Nagasaki, hearing them tell you what happened. You feel the weight of that experience. It's not just history, it's real. Connecting with that, their humanity, that's how we remember.
Keeping that human connection alive. And that's what makes this Nobel Prize even more important, don't you think?
Absolutely.
It's not just good job in the past. It's like we hear you and we need to keep this going.
It's about momentum. The world is seeing them, seeing their message, their commitment to a world without these weapons. And hopefully other people, they're inspired to act too.
To keep it going.
Yes.
Because it's not just about Japan.
No, it's a global problem. And
Right.
what the hibakusha, what Nihon Hidankyo, they've shown us is that even with that suffering, that pain, hope is still there. They've shown us that change, it is possible. We just have to be brave enough to fight for it.
They've given us, it's like a roadmap almost. But what do we do? Like, what can we do with it? I mean, for people listening who, they weren't there, they didn't live through it, but
Yeah.
this is the world we've got, right?
It's a big question.
It is.
It's the question, isn't it? And it's one we're going to explore more when we come back.
All right, so we've talked about Nihon Hidankyo, the hibakusha, this Nobel Peace Prize. But what can we actually do? It's easy to feel, I don't know, kind of small,
Yeah.
Like one person can't really change all this.
It's true. These are big, complicated issues. But I think the hibakusha would tell us that even small acts of courage, of conscience, they matter.
Okay, I like that. So where do we start?
Start with listening. We've been talking about how powerful the hibakusha's stories are, right? Seek them out. Read what they lived through. Watch the documentaries. Really understand what these weapons do. That's where change has to begin.
Not just the initial, the explosion and everything, but
The
those...
long-term stuff.
Yeah, exactly. The things that affect the world for, like, forever, basically.
Because that's what connects us all. That threat, nuclear war, the environmental damage. It doesn't care where you live or what you believe. It affects everyone.
So we need to solve it together.
We do, and that's how those small acts turn into something bigger. Support the organizations doing the work. Get involved. Speak up. Talk to your elected officials. Make sure they know this matters to you. These aren't, political games. This is life and death.
We can't just let this fade into the background.
Silence is dangerous. If we don't speak up, who will? We have to do it for the people who can't anymore. To honor the ones we lost. To fight for a future where this isn't even a possibility.
So it's about continuing their fight, taking what they went through and actually doing something with it.
And remembering that hope, it's not passive. It takes action. It takes believing that we can make things better. The hibakusha have shown us that even in the darkest times, we can come through it. They're leading the way.
It's a lot to take in, honestly. But it's hopeful, too. If they can find that strength after everything they went through, it makes me want to do my part, And I hope it does the same for everyone listening.
It's incredible, isn't it? The human spirit, we can overcome anything. We all have a part to play in this. Building a better world, a more peaceful world, a world without nuclear weapons.
This deep dive, it's given us a lot to think about. Hopefully it's lit a fire under all of us to take action. So here's a final thought. If one story can change one heart, think about what thousands, millions of voices can do. The power to actually change the world. So what's your story going to be?